is your no bullshit guide to a happier life. Quick, but not necessarily easy tips to help you to squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of your business and your life. My name is Helen Calvert. I'm a coach, a business owner and a parent, and I'm so happy to be here with you. I do swear occasionally, as the title suggests, so pop in your headphones if I'm not safe for little ears. Ready to go? Let's do this. This episode is sponsored by Georgia Cambridge, who is a pet loss counsellor. She offers a tailored service for those pet carers who are about to go through a pet bereavement or have experienced the death of a pet. Either in person, via the phone or FaceTime, Georgia is here to help. In a safe space with complete confidentiality, a pet carer of any age can talk to her for help to live through the loss of their beloved companion. Georgia wants you to know that it is okay to grieve for our pets. In fact, it is more than okay. You can grieve over them as much as you need. Your grief is valid. You don't have to hide it away or feel embarrassed, because they are family. They are our friends and companions. We give them love and they give love in bucket loads in return. Whatever the animal, they all mean just as much to their individual carer. Head to cambridgedoglodge.co.uk to find out more, or follow Georgia on Facebook at Georgia Cambridge Pet Bereavement Counsellor. You do not have to go through the loss of a pet alone. Hello, and welcome to this episode where we are going to be talking about how to recognize your power. Because I know from a lot of discussions that I've had with people that so many of us feel like we don't have any. And that is bullshit. That is not true. But it can be hard to recognize it. It can be hard to understand it. Maybe you don't really know what I mean by it. So let's talk about how to recognize the power that we already have. So what can you do or feel or be or make happen on your best day? I don't mean somebody else's best day. We're not going straight into comparisonitis. I don't mean anybody else's best day. I mean your best day. On your best day, which may have been years ago or it might have been yesterday, I don't know, what could you do? How did you feel? What could you be? What could you embody? What did you make happen? All of those things are powerful. If we start with what we can do on our best day, that gives us a baseline for the power that we have. Like I say, not the power that anybody else has, not what we wish we could do. What can we do on our best day? Now, your power may have changed over the years. A lot of people's does. Maybe you've lost some physical power. Maybe you've lost some financial power. There's lots of different types of power and it changes. So what about your best day at the moment? What are you able to do, achieve, make happen, feel like on your best day at the moment? That gives us some idea of the power that we have when the world isn't stripping us of it, because as we've already discussed, the world loves to try and take it away from us. Now, all of this will be cyclical, it will be seasonal. We can talk later on about how working with our physical cycles, the seasons of the year, the weather, everything else that goes on, how working with those things can really solidify our power. So that's why I'm talking about your best day, because even when, nothing particularly terrible is happening to strip you of your power, there are still things happening inside us, internally. Like I say, the seasons happen. Maybe there's a season you feel the most powerful. Maybe there's a part of your physical cycle, your hormonal cycles when you feel the most power. Maybe there's a time of day. All of those things are relevant here. So at your best moment, when you're in the right spot and it's the right time and it's the right season and the sun's shining and you've had your coffee or whatever it might be, what then can you do or have you done? And that gives you an idea of the power that lies within you. Another question is, who would you believe that you are if you only believed the positive feedback that you get? So, the positive things people say to you if you have clients or customers, the positive things your colleagues or your boss say to you, the positive things your friends say to you, things people in the street say to you, I don't know, anything positive. Yes, it can be some huge, beautifully written testimonial, amazing, save it, keep it. Or it could just be that text message that says, oh, thanks, you're a star, really appreciate you. So you would believe that you are a star and you are appreciated. I really want you to think about that. Who would you be if you only believed the positive things that people say to you? Because those things are true, right? And we so often brush them off and then save up the things that people say that are negative. But all of those positive things are true. Those are all things that people have genuinely experienced from being around you. And all of those things give us an indication of our power. We have the power to be a star and be appreciated and do something that makes people feel that way. How powerful would you feel if you really focused on those positive bits of feedback? And somehow, even more importantly, here's one for you. Rather than believing that we are inspirational, gorgeous, amazing, intelligent, super smart, or whatever the best feedback we've ever had is, and rather than believing that we're dreadful and lazy and awful and bitchy and horrible and all the worst feedback we've ever had, how powerful would you feel if you believed every day that you are okay and you are acceptable? I want you to think about that because there's two things there. Firstly, we don't always feel that way, do we? And I want us to really think about that, because if we don't even believe that we're okay and acceptable, we've got a problem, haven't we? Because we all are, right? And we'll talk more later on about who profits from us not believing that information. But what would happen if we all believed that? Imagine how differently everybody around you would behave if deep in their soul they believed that they're okay and they're acceptable. Because our power, for all of us, it lies underneath our shame. We carry around so much shame. Oh my goodness, I did that thing. I made that mistake. I made someone feel bad. The shame. I'm not okay. I'm not acceptable. That is the biggest blanket over the top of our power that any of us will ever experience. And our power lies underneath it. And shame blanketing over our power is not helpful for any of us. Let's go to the extreme. Let's think about people who truly have done terrible things, right? Terrible things, the worst things. The only way they can ever make any changes or reparation or improve themselves or get help or get well or anything is if they put aside the shame and they find their power and they find their power to change. Because shame just absolutely dampens down our ability to do anything. So what would happen if we felt like we were okay and we were acceptable all the time? I really want you to think about that and think about the impact of not feeling that way. It's huge, isn't it? My power, when I think about it, the first things that come to mind are the power of my voice. I have a podcast. That tells you something. My voice has always felt like something I can use. I like writing. I can write a strongly worded email. I can be disgusted of Tunbridge Wells. I can do all that really well. I can make things happen with my words. That is a power I've always had. I know I have that. I have all kinds of other powers, but that's the one that kind of first comes to mind. Maybe you have the power to bring warmth to a room. Maybe you're that person that when you arrive, everyone's like, oh, it's okay, so-and-so's here. And they'll make us laugh and they'll make us feel good and they'll make this gathering wonderful. Maybe you have creative power. Maybe you can make beautiful things or come up with incredible ideas that are totally left field and no one else is going to think of. Maybe you have that creative power. We all have powers. We all have a huge amount of power, but let's start with the ones you can recognize in yourself. And then let's think about the ones that are not particularly unique, because we all have our unique powers, but we all have the same power as well. We all have the power to change people's lives every day, all the time, just by how we interact with them. So think about this. Think about you go into Tesco's, and other supermarkets are available, and you go into Tesco's and somebody in there has a toddler that's kicking off and having a tantrum. You have the power to completely ruin their day by tutting and going, oh, wish people could control their children, or kind of not making any particular impact either way by just strolling past. Or you have the power to make them feel seen and helped by perhaps saying something supportive. Now, I'm not for a second saying that there's a right thing to do in this situation, because personally, if that was me, I'd rather you all strolled on by. I really don't want anyone interfering. But we have power, don't we? We have more power than we imagine, because we know when people do certain things to us, little things, the difference they can make. That person who ruined our day by just doing that one little thing, we didn't even know who they were, and that person that made such a difference to our day by doing X, Y, Z when we needed it. So we all change people's lives all the time by how we interact with them. Do we always have the capacity to change their lives for the better? No. We see some shit going down and we think, my God, I haven't got time for this today. I haven't got the headspace. That's okay. We're going to be talking about increasing our capacity and using our power when we have the capacity to do so. But we all have that power to absolutely change people's lives. And we really don't think about it enough, do we? We're constantly thinking that we're powerless and we can't really do anything. We can do enormous things. There's also power in what we choose not to consume, as in other people's crap. So let's flip it round and we're the one with the tantruming toddler and somebody says, oh, I wish people could, control their kids. Now that could wound, right? That could drive you insane. That could make you upset. Or we can just choose not to consume it. There's somebody with some bloody issue and some views on parenting and they've got their own story and blah, 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 blah. And we can just, no, thank you. That is not mine to consume, not mine to hold. So it's not just what we do and the impact we make. There is also power in what we just let go and ignore and put down and refuse to hold. Now, there's so many different aspects to the power that we have and different types of power. But let's think about some of the different ways we can make a difference. Because again, we can get very hung up on just one or two types of power. For instance, economic power or political power or physical power. All great powers to have, right? If you have those powers, how are you using them? What impact are you making? Have you decided, what impact you want to have on the world? If you are, politically impactful, if you have money to spare, if you have physical strength, how are you using that? But if you don't have those things, or if you just have some of them, what else do you have? Do you have a voice? Do you have a big following? Do you have some kind of platform? Do you have an ability to be heard? Do you have a skill that can make a difference in the world? A friend of mine regularly does batch cooking for a homeless shelter. How powerful is that? She has the power to feed people, right? You don't have to be the president of this or the head of that or the richest person in the world to have that kind of power, right? The power to feed people. Do you have the time and headspace to offer childcare to other people? I don't. That's not a power I have, right? But if you have the time and headspace to say, I'll have the kids while you do X, Y, Z, what a huge impact you can have on the world, freeing up that parent to go and use their power in some way? Do you have items you can lend to people? A friend recently had a problem in their house that was minor, but they couldn't fix it and it was causing problems because they didn't have a stepladder. I've got a stepladder, right? This is power. The ability to say, oh, I'll drop that round. I'll lend you that, right? This is power. And we don't think about it in these terms, but it is. And when we recognize the power that we have and how we can harness it and use it, it's a game changer. And we're going to talk about how, as I say, how we can increase our capacity so we can use that power, because we can't use it if we're exhausted or depleted. But for right now, can we recognize it? We all have power. We can all make a difference. And we are all okay and acceptable. We are all so much more than that. But I think that one of the reasons our power feels so depleted is because a lot of us are wandering around filled with shame and thinking that we're not even okay or acceptable. And my goodness, we are. And my goodness, we have power. And how are we going to build it and use it? Stay tuned. We will find out how. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from everyone if they have recognized a power in themselves they didn't realize they had. You can get in touch with me via the show notes for this episode. I would love to hear everybody's reflections on their power. But in the meantime, please be excessively kind to yourselves, because that's how we maintain our power. And that, my friends, is how we squeeze every last drop of joy out of life. Speak to you next time. Thank you so much for listening. It's great to have you along for the ride. Are you already a member of my Happier Life Hub? If not, it's time for you to join. For just £20 per month, you get access to a huge library of resources to help you to banish the BS and live your happiest life. Plus a supportive community, online meetups, and access to me via the DMs. It's like having me in your pocket 24/7. Head to happier-life.co.uk/hub for more details.